So here we are again with the Shawn and Sally show in the Olympus booth, and Sally's going to show us a little bit about the E620.
Brand new, just announced on Tuesday, Shawn.
Yes.
So this really is a brand new camera that we're looking at right now. And first of all, you can see how small it is in the hand. It's literally the world's smallest digital SLR with built-in mechanical image stabilization. And we know that that means that if I'm hand holding the camera at a slow shutter speed, a little bit of body movement, even my breathing, can cause a blurry picture.
Right.
So this mechanical image stabilization, the image sensor inside the body actually moves along the horizontal and vertical axis so that the light that enters the lens always stays centered on the sensor. But that's not even the most interesting thing about this camera.
Well, the coolest part about it is that it's so small, but that it
so
also
small.
has that image stabilization.
It's small, it has that component in it. But some of the things that I really love about this camera, there's several. One of them is the fact that you've got this full swivel live view LCD, and I'm going to point this at your cameraman out there. You can probably see himself a little bit. It might be the first interchangeable lens digital SLR consumer camera that has a full swivel LCD live view so that I can actually see my subjects live right here on the LCD. That's very cool. We also have a camera that has some creative functions. Built-in art filters and built-in multiple exposure control. Now,
the same filters we saw on the E30?
We did, and you know, a lot of people are going to say, well, art filters, what is that? I mean, filter effect, I can just do that in Photoshop. Here's the story, though. Filters have been around for a long time. You and I remember back in the olden days, there were these round things with a metal rim that thread onto the front of the lens. Filters, and the advantage of using a filter on a lens for a photographer is you're actually calculating the exposure through that piece of optical glass to get the best possible end result in your final image.
Plus you're seeing it in live view on the screen.
And you're seeing it in live view. The way art filters work in the E620, there's actually a separate engine called an art engine that works alongside our digital processing engine. So whenever you snap the shutter, it's actually calculating the art filter effect at that moment. It's not going in after the fact and doing it. And the advantage of that is less chance to blow out certain color channels, etc., by trying to add that over-processing of the image after the fact.
So it's setting the exposure for the filter itself.
It's setting the exposure for the filter itself, very much like shooting through an optical glass filter. And there's 6 different filters. There's pop art, there is pinhole, soft focus. There's also a light tone, which increases the detail in the shadows. There's a pastel filter, which is kind of a dreamy effect. There's a variety, half a dozen different filters you can choose from, and you just simply rotate a mode dial on top of the camera in order to do that, and then there's a display on the back that lets you quickly select the one you want, and you, as you mentioned, you can see the effect right on the live view LCD. The one other feature that's very cool is built-in multiple exposure control. Now, we've heard of, back in the days of film, if you had to do a multiple exposure with a roll of film, you'd shoot a whole roll, keep your fingers crossed, and hope maybe one of them came out. Multiple exposure meaning you're combining more than one image on the same frame. With the E620, you can combine 2 images or even 3 images in an overlay mode. You can see the images on the LCD. So in other words, I take the first shot, and I'll see it in kind of a transparent view on the LCD so that I can overlay it on my next shot, and then it will combine those images into one. I've been collecting shots of the full moon.
Yeah, I was just going to go there with that.
And then when I go out and take some beautiful landscapes, I can bring that moon in and add it anywhere I want to. So that's one way to apply it. Or I could simply take a shot of you. I could take a shot of myself and merge our faces live.
That could be interesting.
That could be, because I've always wondered what I'd look like with a beard.
With a beard, exactly.
But let me show you some samples, can I?
Okay, let's check them out.
So one of the filters is the pop art filter, and if you can see, this is a picture actually of John and Mabel Ringling's home. You know, the Ringling circus fame. Yes. They have a home in Florida, a beautiful home they built. It's a beautiful building. Here it is what it looks like in reality. If I turn the pop art filter on, literally just right in the camera, this is what I get.
They got a paint job.
And that's, something certainly you could go into Photoshop and spend some time trying to increase the saturation and the contrast, but to be able to just simply turn it on in the camera is great.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Another favorite of mine lately has been the pinhole filter, which puts this kind of vignetting around the image. And the beauty of it is unlike a threaded filter that you had to thread onto the front of your lens, you would only fit a certain lens. These filters will work with any lens because they're built into the camera. So here's a shot with an 8mm fisheye, and here's a shot with a normal lens. All I have to do is dial that filter in. It doesn't matter what lens I have on the camera, I can go ahead and use it.
Very cool.
And then the multiple exposure. I told you about my moon collection.
Oh yeah, there it is. There's the moon.
Here's a shot in Philadelphia of a sculpture, and I brought in one of my moon images and just threw it in the shot, and I can put the moon inside my living room if I want to, Shawn. Camera itself actually will accept 2 different kinds of media. It will accept both XD picture cards and compact flash. I can archive images on my XD card, like those moon shots. I can be out shooting thinking, there's a really neat shot of a rose or a hummingbird or whatever. Keep those on my XD card and pull them up later and use them in a multiple exposure overlay. It could be an image that I took maybe 6 months ago on a riverboat cruise down the Rhine that I want to bring in and add to something that I see today that I'm going to take a picture of. So this ability to kind of archive and catalog images using the dual card slot capability is another huge advantage of the Olympus E-Series products.
A lot of uniqueness to this camera. So tell me about the price real quick.
The camera is a 12 million pixel digital SLR, interchangeable lenses of course. The body only is $699 and with a lens $799. The lens that typically would be purchased with the camera is a 28 to 84 millimeter. You can also get a 2-lens kit for another $100, so you've got a lot of variety, and of course any lens that we make within our system will fit on this camera.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much,
Sure,
Sally.
thank you, Shawn.